Welcome back to my YouTube channel, my darlings. Thank you very, very much for tuning in. Now, this next video is a story time.
They hear me roar, and now I see that I'm way better than before. I never needed you at all. Think I fall down? I'ma watch you fall down. I'm living large now. I never needed you at all. Think I fall down? I'ma watch you fall down. I'm living large now. I never needed you at all. I never needed you at all.
In today's story time, we're going to run it back a bit to when I first started university. So this was in 2021, and at a time where COVID this side was hitting so bad, people were losing their lives every day. Like, there wasn't a day that passes that people balatolela ba 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 ratang, or, you know, that was how bad it was. Actually, that was how terrible it was. I remember the time when my mom went for a work trip, and in a day she kept on seeing 6 of her former classmates balatolela through Facebook. And yeah, so back to today's video. We were supposed to start classes on, was it September? No, September was for the Chinese students that year. We were supposed to start classes in August, I think. A week before, returning students had to come back to school. And this was September, right? So our classes were supposed to start in August. Yes, back to what I was saying. We're supposed to start in August, right? So in August that year, still the COVID-19 pandemic really hit like nobody's business. So they were not sure if they were gonna open sponsorship applications on time, and things were dragging on. Literally, they were dragging on. Then I remember early September, no, not September, August. Yes, August. My aunt fell ill. Actually, she fell ill on the 23rd of July, if I'm not mistaken. The 23rd of July last year. She had fallen a bit sick. I think she was coming down with the flu, or was it COVID? Yes. And then she felt better, got tested twice, rapid test, came back negative. Then boom, she starts getting worse symptoms now. And then August came and it got worse. She couldn't breathe. It got so bad they even had to hospitalized her, I think, towards mid-August, towards the time she passed away. And then, yes, now that I remember. And then she had gotten a bit worse beginning of August, but then was treating herself / self-isolating at home at that time. And it got to a point where the COVID patient, they're not supposed to sleep like this. They're supposed to face up because of suppressing the chest and the lungs and so forth. So then on the 9th of was it 9th September? No, not September, August. Yes, sometime in August, they ran around with her. The bed situation is so bad. They couldn't even secure a bed for her. All they could just do is just to give her some oxygen and to let her go home. So then they ran around with her fine up until the time they managed to secure a bed at Bukamoso. And then to the 11th of August, 2 days before she passes away. Yeah, now we all thought she was improving. We all thought she was okay. Then on the 12th of August, her aunt passes away, COVID. Then she gets into ICU. Things are so bad, she can't even breathe on her own. Then, I think on the 12th of August, I kind of slept but didn't sleep. And then I woke up at 5 a.m. in the morning, and my mom's like, hey, call my cousin. I can't get a hold of my cousin. I can't get a hold of her. And hey, and then I then go up to my mom and I look at her, And then she was like, yo, Monica, I'm so sorry your aunt didn't make it. And I was like, oh my word. That day I cried, I won't lie. I did cry, and then my dad was like, oh, I'm so sorry, my child. I'm very sorry. And yo, that day we then went to where she used to live in Blockade. And yo, the vibe there was just so different. To tell the truth, it was way too different. It was like the person who kept that place whole wasn't there anymore, you know. Hey, and the twin sister that day really had it bad, honestly. She really had it so bad. She started crying in front of literally everyone. And I was like, yo, guys. So fast forward to the day of the funeral, the funeral preparations. The in-laws removed each and every single picture of my aunt that was in the house, literally, including the ones that were put in the sitting room. And we all got so confused, and then they started saying it's our culture. I mean, and then fast forward to the day of, not the memorial, but the funeral on the 19th of August. Only 50 people were allowed because of this whole COVID protocol thing, and funny enough, my siblings and I got snuck in. We were into the twin sister. We entered into the twin sister's car, and then the twin sister was like, yo, mekana bana ke ba mosadi o re moitlang. Then they let us in. And then after they let us in, we buried her fine. Then we took a few pictures after the burial session. Then we went back to our place. Yo, it was so eerie, guys. It was depressing, to tell the truth. And that was what I felt that day. It was so depressing. It was so gloomy. If there was a word that I could use apart from depressing. So fast forward to after my aunt's funeral, DTF starts opening applications for our students who want to apply to varsity. You see, I continued applying day and night. Actually, I think for 2-3 days straight. I tried applying, went 2 steps. I was just going 1 step forward and 2 steps back, basically, which was so annoying. It was so frustrating. That I felt like giving up, because wow, it just okay. It was worth it in the end because I ended up getting a scholarship, but at what cost? Honestly, and this was in August, mind you. It was late August, early September. Okay, fine, continue applying. And when was it? Yes, and then September, the returning students went back. I remember I went with my mom for one of her lessons, because she was just like, let's just go get a little how's situation during lessons, and stuff. I went with her during a lesson, and yeah, it wasn't that bad actually. And then we continued waiting up until, was it end of September, if I remember correctly, because yes, we opened on the 4th of October, and by then we were still, many of UB students were still trying to like register and stuff. So yeah, classes began a week later, and at that time I was living with my late aunt's mom, my grandmother's sister. I think I went to live with her, was it late September? I'm not sure, but then 2 hours before I opened school, I moved in with her. They'd made a decision, okay, fine, she'll move with them for the semester and we'll see how everything goes and stuff. And I won't lie, I loved living there. So as we're still trying to like figure out registration issues and stuff, lessons began. And for most of my modules, because I was doing 6 first semester, I was doing 6. For like 5 out of 6 modules, most of my lectures were attending. There was only this one, the main most of them were doing. The lecturer wasn't pitching up. The teaching assistant, the teaching assistant would somehow bail on us because there were so many clashes, and there was a lot going on, honestly. Because I remember for our first lesson, there was no one that came. For our second lesson, there was this other old lady that came. We thought she was our lecturer. only to find out that she was lecturing. I don't know if it was some other course, I don't remember, but then yeah, she was lecturing a different course. And then the third lesson, I think that was a 2-hour lesson, he only came for an hour and then dismissed us. We were all wondering, can't they, what was going on? Because the lecture only came that week. After coming that week, he then came for the hour lesson, for the next hour lesson. Fine. He was just reading on his PC, like literally reading word for word on his PC. And after reading word for word, the next lesson, yes, I think, if I remember well, those who remember, they'll correct me in the comments below. The TA started coming a lot frequently now. There were times when there were actually clashes, and then she'd literally give our class representative the handout for us to go and like read and stuff, not then following lessons. God, it was like basically we were learning on our own, you know. But I feel like the only good thing about that semester was the take-home tests and exams, especially for the law module that we did first semester. Economics. STA 101 was the online test. What is this? We would write in class, but it wasn't that bad. And then what else? The only physical tests that we had were Res 101, ICT. You writing them in the labs. If you didn't write in the lab, you get a 0. So I'd always make sure that I write inside the labs, because I don't want to get zeros. Kind of thing is, in this university thing, each and every single mark counts towards your GPA. Fast forward to towards our exams, right? We started exams. I can't remember when we started them, but I think it was late November, if not mid-November, towards like actually it was late November towards early December, because we closed on the 16th of December. So fast forward towards exams, I wasn't feeling, because I remember I was writing an exam on the 15th of December, right? And that day I wasn't too good at all. The good thing was it was open for like 4 hours, so I had to like submit it after 4 hours. And that time I wasn't feeling so good. I felt like I was coming down with a throat pain. There was a time my mom dropped me off at her aunt's house, my grandmother's sister's house, and that day I just went straight to sleep. I remember greeting everybody that was there at that time, and then I just went straight to sleep because I wasn't too good at all. I was down bad. So then, in fact, that day we had ice cream. So what I did was I dished up my ice cream, then I left it in the freezer, thinking that okay, fine, if I leave it in the freezer, I'm probably gonna have it the next day, because and that day, I had very painful chest pains, and I personally didn't look out for all the signs of COVID, because I felt like, what worse could it be apart from it? So fast forward to the 19th of December, I'm at my grandmother's sister's house. Or was it the 18th? Yes, it was the 18th of December. We were planning something for my sister, so my grandmother's sister and my mom had agreed that okay, fine, I'll come and collect a few of my stuff and get ready at my grandmother's sister's house. And then so fast forward to the 18th of December, my grandmother's sister and I come home, and actually my mom and the aunt had self-tested themselves with some test kits that my dad brought from his COP26 trip in Scotland. So then, they tested my mom and the aunt tested themselves, and then my mom's test results came back negative, and the aunt's test results came back positive. So the following day, they went to a local clinic and got tested for COVID. The test results both came back positive. And because I was in contact with my mom, I had to get tested because of this whole contact tracing thing. Now, because my grandmother's sister went to go and get herself cleared, I went and got tested. So then she was just like, okay, may you please test this kid for me. Her mom tested positive. And she was in contact with her mom not so long ago. Then I got tested. Turns out that I tested positive for COVID. But it is so funny because towards test date, I didn't feel any weird symptoms and signs that, okay, I have COVID. So which is why to this day I still find it funny, and I'm still finding it funny, and I'm like, wow, right? After testing positive, then obviously we had to sort of like isolate. So I was in isolation with my mom, and the aunt was in isolation in her room. So what they'll do is to normally, cook breakfast food, and it was so exhausting because we normally get breakfast at around 10 a.m. I mean, that is so crazy. And then fast forward towards Christmas time. A few visitors come and check us through my bedroom window. Fine, they greet us, then leave. Then fast forward to Christmas Eve. I didn't like that Christmas Eve because we were being served dikhobe. I mean, samp. I don't know if is it samp, old samp, or I don't know. But then we were fed dikhobe. But to tell the truth, I didn't mind eating dikhobe because now, if you cook anything that I taste and that I find nice, I'll eat. Except disclaimer, except if it's bushmeat, meat like impara. The only meat I eat, disclaimer, is beef, goat, chicken, fish. There's something that I'm forgetting. Yes, I think that's it. But then, yes, if you cook anything I find it nice, I'll eat, right? So I don't mind eating dikhobe. Then fast forward to Christmas Day. Those very dikhobe that we ate Christmas Eve, we ate them again on Christmas Day. I mean, then moving right along to was it the 29th of December, yeah. The day my mom was getting out of isolation was the 29th of December. Then I stayed the following day. So on the 29th of December, my mom got out of isolation. Fine, she went and got tested. She got cleared. The following day, I got tested and I got cleared. Then I think my brother went to test on the 29th to clear himself as well. My brother and my dad, they went and got tested on the 29th just to clear themselves. The following day, my father goes to collect my brother's test results. They come back positive. I asked my dad where his results were, and then they were like, they can't find my results. It looks like they misplaced them. And I was like, after my brother's test results come back, then we also put him in isolation for like 5 days or so because he wasn't showing symptoms. Plus, then he was a lot better. He had tested positive previously in March of 2020, and then at that time it was really causing a toll on him. So then this time when he had tested positive December last year, he was like, but it's nothing really. There's no signs of chest pains, nothing, And then put him in isolation for 5 days. Then my dad went to get tested again, and his results come back negative. I'm like, wow. And at that time, my mom's cousin, the one who lost the twin sister, they also had a COVID attack. And my little sister was with them. And literally each and every single one of them had tested positive. Except for my little sister and the baby of their house. The youngest one, my favorite little cousin. They had tested negative. But then it was better to be safe than sorry. So they were all isolating together during that time. And yes. But going back to December 19th, because December 20 was a Monday, we had a small celebration for my little sister. A lot of my extended cousins came. We celebrated, took pictures, cut a cake. And it was at that time I didn't know I was going to test positive for COVID. Going back to when my brother tested positive now, the roles were shifted now. So that means that we were the ones that were preparing stuff for him and, you know, doing the things for him, taking care of him like he was taking care of us at the time of isolating. And guys, that is exhausting. I feel like the way that we've managed COVID this side was to get things like paper, disposable former packs, disposable spoons, disposable forks, getting so many black plastic bags, having so many used containers, majerini. I think how we've managed this situation of COVID was that when one gets into isolation, because we have spare kettles, whoever gets into isolation, give them all these spare stuff. Even with tea bags, rooibos, because we hardly drink 5 roses this side. Even with tea bags, rooibos, there'd be used containers, margarine, yogurt. They put the tea bags inside, take another used container of margarine, yogurt, put sugar inside, have a big 20-liter bucket with the kettle, then drink warm water, because one of the only ways to help fight this COVID is to drink with teeth. Drinking warm stuff really sort of helps. I don't know if it helped me because at that time I wasn't feeling bad. Like I wasn't sick. This 10 days thing for me was off my tea. So yes, moving right along. And also having the eucalyptus oil, giving the person who's getting into isolation a eucalyptus oil / tsunami, right? So this eucalyptus oil, COVID has to pour like a few drops into like a small bucket of hot water so that they can steam and inhale all of that to sort of like clear the air lungs, because once COVID gets into your lungs, that is where most of the damage is done. So yeah, tsunami or eucalyptus, COVID puts a drop or two. Even if it's tsunami, it's probably a drop because apparently that one is more stronger than eucalyptus. Well, yes. So you put in a drop or two, then you start steaming twice daily to try and like prevent this thing from getting into your lungs. And this steaming not only applies to the person who's caught the COVID infection, but it also applies to those who are living with that person, to try and also prevent them from getting this whole COVID-19 infection, right? And another thing to do is just after isolating into the room that they're isolating in, it is best you start disinfecting the place with disinfectant. So come from Buddhiscam and other stores. And also to be thorough when you're cleaning, especially now that you're living with a COVID-19 patient, is to be thorough with cleaning, using the disinfecting solutions to disinfect tabletops, surfaces, when you mop the floors, pour a bit of some disinfecting liquid, just to make sure that the next person in the household does not get COVID. Another thing you can also do is not to forget to disinfect doorknobs as well, because we touch doorknobs like literally more than half of the time. We touch the doorknob when we like enter rooms and stuff. And another thing to do is when you're living with the COVID patient is to use masks, especially when you go to serve that COVID patient with food. You sort of like, okay, what we do here is to like dish up in a formal pack, put the plate right at the door. Then the patient will wait for us to leave. Then after we leave, they take the food and then go and eat. Then since they have the black plastic bags, they can request for another black plastic bag once the plastic bag they're using is finished. One important thing that you need to do if you've caught the COVID-19 infection is to regularly check your I don't know if it's called, is it heart rate per minute over your oxygen saturation level? Because once your oxygen saturation level falls below 90, that is a disaster. So one thing that you should really check for when you test positive for COVID is your BPM over O2, oxygen saturation level. And then another thing to also look out for is this is now dealing with the COVID-19 patient, is to regularly check on them, just to know that they're not alone, and just to know that they're with somebody who, you know, they're not feeling alone during the isolation period. Trust me, the isolation period can get very lonely, but then lucky for me, I was isolating with my mom, so it wasn't that lonely. Plus, I honestly preferred it if I was just isolating alone, because I don't know, I think it's because of me and just liking to be in my own space alone, because I'm not truly too fond of people, unfortunately. But then I feel like for me personally, I'd really loved it if I isolated alone, because I love my own space. Canada space is like a killer one. I cannot go crowded, like so many. I really don't like being crowded by so many people, and personally really do like my own space. So yeah, but then yes, the isolation period can get very lonely. Anyways, thank you very much for tuning into this video, guys. I love you so much. I will see you next time.